Hi there, Sandi here, and today I have a Slimline ocean card created with new products from Picket Studios. We will be working with the You Were Mermaid for Me with a great ocean bottom scene and some fun waves. Next, the whale from a Fishy lot. I love those mermaids too. The coordinating dies and the Slimline Rising Sun stencil. I also used the Slimline nested rectangles dies to cut out my card front. I've loaded all of the stamps into my MISTI and I'm stamping in black hybrid ink onto a half sheet of white hammermill cardstock. I'm going to set that piece aside to dry, and then while I'm waiting, I'm going to work on my card front. I'm using my life-changing blending brushes, and I'm starting with tumbled glass, and I'm going to do a light wash across the entire thing. Then I'm coming back in with salty ocean, and I'm just going around the edges, and then I'm going to heat set this to let it dry because I'm going to be adding the yellow. So I'm attaching this to my work surface, and I'm going to be laying the stencil over top, and I don't want that sun at the top, so I'm moving it up out of the way, and you'll notice that the stencil is a little bit short. I'm going to show you just at the end of this how to extend it. So lay it down, get your tape on the edges to keep it in place, and start adding the yellow, and then remove the tape. That's Post-it note tape that I'm using, by the way. And we're going to take those skinny strips that I cut apart and use the straight edges to mask off each of the sunray sections, and then I'm adding that additional little strip that I didn't get from the stencil. This is just a nice, fast, easy way to extend it. Okay, so I've got my whale cut out, and let's get the colors going around the whale. I'm using the same colors on the whale, so again I'm starting with tumbled glass, and I'm going to use I'm just testing my purple there to make sure I grab the right one. And I did, yay! Okay, so back to tumbled glass, and I'm again using my life-changing brushes and a very, very soft touch. I'm going in with a light blue, and I'm just very gently going to go around the outside of the whale. I want there to be white in the center so that you can read the sentiment really easily. So you see how light I'm going? And go all the way around. Then I'm coming back in with the salty ocean and adding just a little bit of that. And you'll notice I'm tapping it off on my scrap paper. That gets rid of that great big blob that you get right when you start. So now I've gone to the wilted violet, and again I'm rubbing quite a bit of the ink off and just adding a very light touch around the edge of my cute little whale. And here he is all finished. Isn't he pretty? I love him. Now we're going to add bubbles, and I'm using those little bubbles down in the corner that I just pointed out, and a couple of acrylic handles, and I'm going to do the stamping off or first generation stamping to add the bubbles. I don't want them really dark, I just want them light, so that's why I'm doing the stamping off first onto the scrap paper. You'll see that I'm also twisting my handle so that they're not all going exactly the same way, and I think it adds a little bit of interest. Okay, moving on to our card base, and I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. Here's the colors that I'm using. In most cases, I only used 1 or 2, sometimes 3 of the colors. I didn't spend a lot of time doing shadows because it's a very small portion of my card, okay? And so I'm cutting these apart because I've got dies for the fish that I'm going to be cutting out, and then I went around the fish with my B12. And for these little guys, after I had them cut out, I went around with my black marker just to highlight them and get rid of the little white edge that you get when you cut them out. So now I'm using my Barely Glue. Love this stuff with the fine tip, and it's perfect for all these little pieces that I'm trying to glue down. And this one I'm going to put in the bottom left-hand corner, and yes, I am hanging it off the edge. And then the other 2 little guys, I'm going to glue them all up, and I'm going to attach them in the bottom right-hand corner. So that creates my ocean bottom. And then just flip it over, and then you can just trim off the excess. I'm using score tape to attach my card front to my card base, and I like to run my long strips first. And then I take the protective cover off of them, and then that way I can overlap the pieces going the other way, and I don't have to worry about trying to dig the protective strip out from underneath the two pieces of glue. That gets kind of frustrating. So I do 3 across on this one so that there's one in the center, just to make sure that it lays down flat and looks really professional when I'm finished. So again, just peel off those protective covers off of this, and this stuff is super, super strong and super sticky. It really lays your card down nice and flat. So pop that onto your top folding card base, and this was 8.5 by 7, and I scored and folded on the 7-inch side at 3.5. So it creates a 3.5 by 8.5 inch slimline card. So now I'm dry fitting all my little pieces where they're going to go. And then I'm going to add some foam pieces onto the back and attach them permanently to the card. So there we go, he's all attached. And I have some new stuff to play with. This is paper glitz. This stuff is cool and fresh out. So when you get this, you need to shake it or stir it. Okay, I prefer to stir it because I don't want all the stuff on the lid. And you want to get that glitter moving around in with the mixture. And then I'm taking just a little bit on my finger, and I'm going to add it to my little Copic highlights, my little ocean bottom, and give them just a little bling. And it just adds a fun little interest to the card. You could also do the fish if you wanted to. I decided not to. And now I'm just adding a little bit of highlights with a gel pen. This is a white gel pen, and I think it's a number 10. And I like to get them going on my finger. There we go. There's the finished card. I hope you enjoyed today's share, and pop over to the Picket Fence Studios website and check out the rest of this month's release. There are lots of fun new products to create with. Thanks so much for stopping in, and until next time, toodles!